And the Labour MP, Tom Watson, who sits on the Commons Culture, Media and Sports Committee, joins me now from our Westminster studio. Mr Watson, News International have just said they recognise the seriousness of the material disclosed to the police and Parliament and are committed to working in a constructive and open way with all the relevant authorities. What do you make of that?
Well, I take what the company say with a pinch of salt now. They've hired a lot of PR people to handle their media. And what is interesting is the Clive Goodman letter, which I think is devastating and suggests that not just Andy Coulson, but everyone in the editorial team of News of the World was aware of phone hacking. In the version that the company gave the committee, they covered those, they blacked out those lines. So I don't think they are being as honest as they say.
We should be clear with people at home, shouldn't we, though, that Mr Goodman, the former royal correspondent, was a man who'd lost his job, was a man who was convicted of a very serious offence, and in this letter is pleading for his livelihood and his career.
Yes, let me just be clear. If what Goodman says is accurate, then it's very, very serious for Andy Coulson and Tom Crone, the lawyer. If it's not accurate, the central question is, why did Les Hinton, the chief executive of News International at the time, on receiving this letter, not mention it to a parliamentary inquiry that he gave evidence to only days afterwards? And why did he not immediately call in the police? After all, there had been an allegation of widespread criminality in the organisation in 2007, and he didn't want to clear it up. That contradicts what Rupert Murdoch told us, which is he takes a zero tolerance to wrongdoing in News Corps.
Talking of letters and trying to track down what actually happened, you've also published today correspondence from Harbottle and Lewis, who you were particularly tough on in the last set of hearings. Is this not a law firm trying to, as it were, clear its name after having been given such a hammering by you and Mr Whittingdale and the rest of your committee?
Yes, it is, but they give quite a comprehensive account of themselves, and from my take, they've done quite a good... They've given quite a clear explanation of what their role was. They also, incidentally, accuse the Murdoch evidence of being self-serving, inaccurate and misleading, which I think is pretty devastating for Mr Murdoch Senior.
You are an experienced Labour Member of Parliament and former Minister. I want people at home to be aware of that before asking you my final question. David Cameron's defence is that Mr Coulson gave him certain undertakings. Where does your evidence, with all of the caveats you wisely put in at the top, leave Mr Cameron?
Well, I think Mr Cameron would probably want to explain whether Mr Coulson mentioned the letter from Clive Goodman. After all, Andy Coulson was appointed around the time that Goodman wrote his letter. And certainly, given the closeness of News International executives to David Cameron, I'd be surprised that they didn't raise Goodman's allegations with him at the time. After all, that was a very big elephant in the room, as politicians are fond of saying. So, in slower time, I think Mr Cameron would probably want to explain what he knew about that.
Tom Watson, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.